folks, welcome back to another video. You join me in a sheltered spot in the slate quarries. Usually in Wales we're sheltering from the wind and rain, but today it's from the sun. It's roasting today. I'm in a spot close by to routes like Comes the Dervish, Last Tango, Gin Palace, loads of other things. They're all closed off at the moment due to a bit of, well, pretty big rockfall last year. It's an amazing spot that I'll probably be putting some footage up at this point. Slate's a pretty unique medium to climb on. If you've never climbed on it and you get the chance, jump at it because it's pretty awesome. There's so much history to it all. The rock is unique, and even the climbing style is unique. Not the actual movement, although that's pretty special, but even the fact that there's trad, there's sport, and there's like hybrid as well, where a route might be a mixture of bolts and trad gear, or even just space bolts, but not enough to make it a sport route kind of thing. So it really is pretty cool. And it dries really quickly as well in the rain, and that's a bonus when you're in North Wales, isn't it? Because sadly it rains a lot. Today's video though is focusing on sport climbing. I've been down in Devon for a few days, managed to tick my 7C Plus project and tick another 7C Plus as well while I was down there, so I'm well happy with that. And I thought I'd talk about how to bail off a sport route, because it's a question I get asked a bit, and I thought it was worth doing a video on. I think it's important to know how to bail off a route, one for like safety type reasons and not leaving loads of kit behind, and two for like the psychological side of just knowing you can have a crack at these things, and if you need to bail you can. It's not the end of the world. It shouldn't even cost very much at all, if anything. Options then. We're going to imagine that we're like halfway up a route, we've clipped our way up there, and then we can't carry on. Maybe we're on the slate and it started raining, and slate's really hard to climb in the wet because you can't really smear on it when it's wet, it's just too slippery. Or maybe you just can't do the moves, whatever, it doesn't really matter. But you're halfway up, you're on belay still, mate's doing a sound job, you're just dangling. Right, how are you going to get down? Well, the first and easiest option is they're just going to lower you down. Simple as that. You leave all the quick draws in place, you get to the bottom, you live to fight another day. Problems with that? Well, it's going to be flipping expensive, isn't it? I use these nice Petzl spirits. They're about £20, probably a fraction less, but near enough, £20 each. By the time you left a couple of those or more, it's getting to be an expensive route, isn't it? So we don't want to do that ideally. But if you have done that, well, what are the options? You could potentially, if there is an easier route next to it, climb that easier route, swing across, strip all the gear out, great, winning. Not always the case though, is it? On the slate quarries a lot of the time, and the routes here, you can actually climb round to a level above, so there's the potential of being able to abseil down from above, get all your quick draws back, wander around, get your rope back, all that jazz. So that's a nice way of doing it. Might be if you're lucky enough to be climbing with someone who climbs harder than you, so let's say it's not raining, you just couldn't do the moves, send them up to strip the route and all that kind of thing. That's a bonus, isn't it? Again, not always going to be the case though, but there's some really easy options which I'm going to revisit a bit more info about in a minute. But moving on to the next one, I think it's like a pretty standard piece of kit these days for a sport climber to have a clipstick. This one here is a Pongoose. Amazing clipsticks that these guys have kindly sent to try out in this video actually, so I've been using it for a little while just to get the swing of it. I usually use a beta clipstick, and if you're at any sport crag and you see some clipsticks, they'll probably either be a beta clipstick or a Pongoose clipstick, one or the other. There are other ones, but those are the two most common by quite some way. The beta clipstick's fine, it does a good job. Some people tell you they don't last very long. In my experience, I've had mixed goings on with them really. So one of them has lasted yonkies, another one broke on me the other day, but they kindly just replaced it for me, so I've had good customer service. They're a bit sort of plasticky in places, and I think that's where the Pongoose really wins out because it's all nice metal construction for the most part, so I think it will last a long time. One of the biggest annoyances with a beta clipstick is when you put a clip in to clip the next bolt and all that, as soon as you bang the rock after the stick has aged a little bit, the little retaining wire that keeps the gate open so you can clip it just gets really weak, and then the quick draw just snaps shut and therefore you can't get it into the bolt. If you've done any sport climbing and used one of those, you'll be used to that annoying feeling and having a turbo ramp when you've hit it again and again because you're at full reach. It's really difficult to actually fail with that element with the Pongoose. Now it's got two bits. I'll lean in a bit, hopefully that'll focus on it. It's got two bits here. It's got one that will have a Q on it, one that have an R on it, and on the other side there's just a little thumb screw thing so you can spin it round. So for putting a quick draw in, it's pretty simple. You just line up the Q with that little notch there, spin it shut, jobs are good. And then when you load in the drawer in, it's such a solid idea, I love it. This sort of V of metal, which feels flipping like it's going to last forever, you just put the clip in and it sits like that. So you can see it's really flipping hard to get that to fail, the gate to shut, and that's flipping great, that is. So I really like that. It makes clipping the next bolt really easy. Because it sits at this angle, which is a bit different to a beater, I find this is nicer to clip them in as well, makes life a bit easier. Other people might disagree, just my experience. So let's say I'm halfway up that route. Well, one thing you could do is pull up the clipstick. You're still on belay, you're going to clip into that bolt somehow, come back to that in a minute. You put your rope in to that, you're dangling, and you reach up and you clip that next bolt. It's pretty simple, isn't it? When you're doing it, I know I'll be out of shot a bit here when I'm doing this, but extend that pole upwards from the top. That's the easiest way to do it, whatever clipstick you've got, rather than working from the bottom up, go from the top down. And then you just reach up, put your clip into the bolt, line it up, give it a little, make sure it's in the right bit as you go across there. There he is. Pull it down, job's a good one. Fold up the pole. And you've got options then, haven't you? You've got the next clip in, so what could you do with that? Well, you might find that as soon as you've got that rope in and you're basically on a top rope, that you're okay to carry on and climb the moves. It might be that you're on belay and you're just going to pull down on the other rope and your mate takes in as you go and you're just hoofing your way up. You get to the next clip, maybe that's the top, but if there's more to go, you do the same again. And you literally just clip stick your way up to the top. What's the point in doing that, you say, because you're just leaving more drawers? Well, the point of that is then you get to your proper bolted anchor set, don't you? And you just clean that as you would normally, thread it and all that, lower down, strip your drawers, jobs are good. So I think that is probably my favourite way of getting off a sport route if I can. I get the clipstick, go, 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 go. I'll talk about staying safe again in a minute though. And away you go. Simple. One thing that the Pongoose does loads better than the beater stick though is getting a quick draw back. So let's just reverse a little bit and let's just say we'd started a route and we got up to the first quick draw and we just couldn't go any further. It was harder than we thought it would be. What are you going to do? It's going to get lowered off by your mate, isn't it? Back down to the floor, but your quick draw's still up there. So let's pull this rope down. There we go. Pull myself a bit of slack through, and this is my favourite thing about the Pongoose really. It's just because it does it when other sticks don't in the same way. So we're going to use the same bit, but we're going to move it into the rope position, so just that thumb screw again, spin it into the R bit, and then I'm going to load the rope into this kind of V bit here. So all I'm doing is that and making myself a little lasso of rope there. As I reach up now, that lasso is going to stay there. I'm going to trap the quick draw in it. And then as I reach up, I want to get those little rubber balls touching the back bar. I can't quite see properly from where I am, but I can feel that they're in the right place. I'm going to use the rope, spin it around a bit, there we go, to pull on the gate. Like so, there we go. That opens the gate. I can then just shuffle the whole thing out, 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 and down he comes, winning. I'd like to see you do that on the beater stick. I have done it on the beater stick. However, it takes many takes to do it, and that was my first take, so I'm dead impressed with that. So that's just a really nice feature of the Pongoose. You can do it on the beater, but like I say, it's just absolutely desperate to do it. I've done it on a previous video and it took me loads of takes and I lost my rag, to be honest, in the slate quarry somewhere else that was. It does all the usual things, like you can pull the rope back down with it as well, and you can put the rope in it to clip into an in situ quick draw and all that kind of stuff. You don't need to see me do that because there's other videos on it. All you need to know is the Pongoose does it really well. Look them up, check them out. Thanks massively to Pongoose for helping us out with that by sending it our way. I thought it would just be a good thing to show a different one rather than the usual one that I use. Right, so we can dog our way up with the clipstick. What other methods have we got of getting down? I said before that we could just lower off a quick draw, but it's expensive. So one thing I often carry with me in my sport bag is not that carabiner, because that's the one that lives on my harness for cleaning the top of a route. That's a nice DMM thing. The other things that might be in my sport bag though are a couple of what we'll call lever beaners, and I got two here. These are just old carabiners that mean nothing to me and have long outlived the cost that I paid for them originally. A screw gate, you can see what that does. A snap gate. What I could do is I'm clipped into that bolt, I'm still on belay and all that. I could put my lever beaner into the bolt, I could put the rope in that instead of the quick draw, do it up if it's a screw gate, take my quick draw out, take the rope out the quick draw, so I'm left with just that on a bolt with my rope in it, attached to me obviously. Put that in just to, you know, I'm pretty sure you know what I mean, but you know, that's done up. So then that's in the bolt, I just lower off that. That's a way of getting down, isn't it? I'm lowering off just one bolt. Would I rather have a screw gate or a snap gate? Probably a screw gate in terms of safety. Other people will carry a Malon, and they're good, right? They're cheaper, they're smaller. The downside is once they're done up, they often they just get jammed shut so quick, so they can take up the space of a bolt, or just make it awkward for the next person to clip their quick draw in as they're leading. And if it seizes up, then how are you going to get it off? Well, eventually it will need sawing off, and that's a right pain in the butt. So it's a little bit antisocial to use one of them, but it is an option. I'd rather personally use one of these options. Is it safe to lower off a snap gate? Well, we're falling on quick draws, we're lowering off quick draws and stuff like that, aren't we? But we might only be off one bolt, so there's a bit of judgment to be made there, isn't it? There is one option to make it a little safer. We're lowering off one bolt. What happens if that explodes? Well, we're going quite some way, aren't we? Is it a common occurrence for bolts to explode? No. Could it happen? Yeah, possibly. We're going to have to make some judgments about that, aren't we? One thing that I won't normally have in my sport pack personally is a prusik, right? But maybe I should, and maybe you should. That's a good point, isn't it? You know, these videos are about me learning as well. Now, one thing we can do is, let's just tie myself back into this rope quickly as I'm speaking. We're going to lower off that same quick draw, or you know, replace it with my lever beaner, and we could use a prusik to keep ourselves a little bit safer. I'll flash an image up of what I mean when I'm talking about this as well, when I'm doing the editing. But I'm going to lower off that bolt, right? I'm also going to put a prusik on it. So personally, I would probably go for a clem heist here. I'll tell you for why. I want it to be like just guaranteed to lock if I touch it or anything. Now, French prusik might well release if I sort of knock it as I'm falling, and I'll sort of show you what I mean here. That can clip into rope loop, belay loop, both, whatever. Right. Now, as I'm getting lowered, I slide this with me, okay? I'm off that one bolt. I've got other bolts beneath me with quick draws on them. If that top bolt explodes, all this slack is going to send me flipping miles, isn't it? Will the next bolt save me? Well, it depends how high up you are, isn't it? Now, what would happen with this prusik on if that bolt exploded? All this slack would kind of be taken out the system a bit, because I'd fall on to the next quick draw, let's say it's here, I'd fall onto that, wouldn't I? And the belay would take me tight on this bit. So you've saved yourself a whole load of meters of potential falling just by having a prusik on. So you're just going to slide that all the time as you're being lowered. It's a nice thing to do, but only if you've got a prusik. So maybe it's worth having a prusik in your bag, even if you pull it up from your mate. Now, I keep talking about pulling things up from your mate and all that kind of stuff. That means you're going to be dangling on something, doesn't it? And it's probably only going to be that one bolt. So what do I do when I'm at that one bolt to clip into it? Well, there's a couple of options, isn't there? Quick draw. I've got a load of quick draws on me, so I can put one into me, one into the bolt. I'm still on belay, but I might be pulling loads of slack through, so it could be so much through that even if I fell off the belay, it wouldn't even go tight on them. So is it a good idea to be in a quick draw? It's judgment. Sometimes I do, right? And I keep fully loaded on it. I'll link another video up there about a little near miss I had once. So I'm really pedantic about staying properly tight on that. Snap gates don't unclip themselves when you're tight on them. They might if they twist and you load it and things can happen. A better option might be to go for the old Petzl connect adjust or something like that, and then you can be a lot safer. You're still only going to be on one bolt, but you can be adjusted on this wherever you need to be, and then a locker or a self locker, in my case a quick lock, bang, you're in. There's no chance realistically of that unclipping, but you are still only on one bolt. Give that some thought though. There is one other thing I like to do sometimes if I am pulling up a clipstick or something, and that's go into 2 bolts. So I'll ask my belayer to lower me down from the bolt I'm on to another clip. So I'll just put this one in to simulate that. So this is, you know, bolt number 2 from the top. I'm clipped into it via the rope at the moment, but I'm not actually attached via anything. So I'm going to put my connect into it, into the bolt maybe, into the quick draw, depends. Obviously it's going in the quick draw here because that's all I've got. I'm clipped into one, but I'm on belay through some others. But one thing I like to do now, if I'm pulling that loads of slack through, is tie myself a knot in there, in the rope going down to my belayer, get my screw gate that was carefully put on a ledge next to me, and clip that in. So now I'm kind of attached to 2 bolts, right? A bit like building a belay really, isn't it? The one's well out of reach, and you know, it's not all equalised and stuff like that, but it feels better than just being on one bolt. That's an option. A couple of other little things to mention, I suppose, while we're at it. I know it's a long video, I do apologise. This is a bit of one of those ones that you kind of, there's so much to talk about, it'd be hard to do it justice without doing a longer video. One thing I'll often carry with me is the Kong Blue light. That just gives me a little bit of extra reach, and that might be enough to dog up a route rather than pulling a clipstick up, or it might just mean you can clip from that slightly nicer position rather than having to make a tricky move above a bolt or something. So it might just be good for the head to have one of those. I think you can get a longer version of this as well. You reach up, you clip, and the rope's in then if you've put it in already. So that's one little thing you can carry with you. I often carry that when I'm on sighting. I love it. It's a bit of a get out of jail free card actually. The other option that I'm kind of mentioning just for the sake of it really is to down lead something. So you're going to climb down it still on belay. Each time you take out a quick draw, keep climbing down, take out a quick draw. It's not the nicest thing in the world. It's not my cup of tea really, unless it's like a super easy route for you, but then I'm not sure why you'd be bailing perhaps, but maybe it's an easy start. It's hard to climb down, isn't it? Especially as you're unclipping as you go, and the sort of slipping potential feels quite high. It just feels a little bit odd, but it is an option. I'm mentioning it for the sake of completeness. I'm sure some of you have done it. I've done it. It works sometimes. As with all these methods, it's just all about sort of picking the right one and making some good judgments about things like, can I just lower off one bolt? The clipstick though, as I keep banging on about the Pongoose in this case, I just think it's such a useful tool that personally I wouldn't be without one when I'm going sport climbing. Oh, well there you go. If you sat through all that, well done, good effort. Thanks very much for watching. As always, do fire away with any questions. Happy to answer as best I can, of course. Share any top tips you've got. You know, feel free to put anything in the comments below really. Do find us on Insta, find us on Facebook, click the like button, smash the subscribe button, use the buy me a coffee link. The support is just massively appreciated as always. It just continues to amaze me, so massive thanks for all of that. Like I said though, do fire away with any questions. Other than that, thanks very much for watching. More videos coming up very soon.